Okay, let's dive straight into it. And I want you to know something about each of these shots. I'm going to be telling some stories that some of you may not have heard before. Yes, Costa Rica drones. Love it. One of the things that you might not know is that this was shot on the Mavic Mini. The Mavic Mini is an opening price point drone. This was shot on the Mavic Mini 1. And this picture was picked up by Visit Florida. Not one of the smaller tourism boards, but Visit Florida overall, and was one of their featured photos. And I want to share that quick tidbit because it's something that I want you to understand, that it is that easy to grab amazing photos with even the lower price point drones, and that you can get your work seen by a lot of amazing and large places, especially if you are a travel creator trying to get your work found. The photo on the left is me flying a manual drone. And I'm going to be telling some stories about that tonight because as I've been reflecting, tell me in the chat if you're familiar with what an FPV, first person view, or a manual drone is. Basically, it's one where you have to actively keep the drone in the air. It flies over 60 miles an hour. And if you don't keep it in the air, it will go spiraling into a fiery death very quickly. It is a very difficult drone to fly. And one of the things I love about flying this drone is that it humbles me out and reminds me about how thankful I am that the regular drones that I will be talking to you about today are significantly easier to fly. I told you this story about how easy it is to get these types of shots. And in this presentation, I'm going to be showing you some behind the scenes around how I'm doing the editing. And you're going to notice something about the way I edit. Am I using fancy software? I'm not. I'm actually using my phone 99% of the time when I'm processing all of my photo and the majority of my video. I love flying Mavic drones. This is me taking a little selfie. And one of the things that stresses me out when I attend these types of presentations is I'm trying to take notes and I'm trying to remember things that the presenter said, and I'm trying to screenshot the screen. And so I literally went through my presentation 3 times and I wrote down and added links to every single thing I will talk about today. So if you just go to christinelozada.com/TNN, it's all going to be there for you. I don't know if I can drop that in the chat. Let me find out. Oh, I can drop that in the chat. Awesome. So I'm just letting you know that that's there. So you don't need to take notes today. Obviously, you're welcome to, but everything I will talk about is on this landing page. And I will also be at TravelCon. I will be at TravelCon doing the drone workshop. And whether you from this workshop or you have a drone or you get a drone right after this, learn to fly it with me or learn to work on something you're working on. And if you don't have a drone for this workshop, I will have a few extra ones with me. There will be something for everybody. I'm going to make sure everyone gets something out of it, but just letting you know, I will be at TravelCon, super excited for that. A lot of people ask me, what drones do you fly? And I fly 4 different drones. And one thing that you will see is that they are all, oh, thanks, Mia. They are all Mavic drones. And so one of the things about Mavic drones, and the reason why I fly these drones, is they own over 70% of the consumer market. And what that means is not, oh, they're big, so therefore you should buy them, but rather they're made for consumers. So as we get into this, you'll start to see, especially when I talk about safety, some things that, especially if you own a drone today, oh my gosh, there are some settings you should look at that kind of like, you know, when you have TV settings where you don't want your kid to accidentally watch that one channel. Same thing with your drone. They have that in place. Just a lot of people don't know about it, but it will help to protect you a lot when you're flying your drone. So you can focus on getting the shot and not focus on crashing or doing something illegal or fill in the blank with whatever it is. So that's coming, but I fly 4 different drones, actually 3 now, because at one of these events with the Nomadic Network, she's in the chat, Mia, won one of my drones. I gave away one of my drones. So yes, in good hands. So our flight schedule today, I'm going to talk to you just a couple stories about what a drone can do for you, what you need to know, and drones to consider. And as you have questions, please drop them in the chat because I'm here for you. And actually, I'm going to pause really quick on this picture because what's interesting is I'm very close to Yosemite National Park. If you don't know this, you cannot fly a drone at national parks. They are protected land. In particular, they're protecting the animals on that land. And not only do they want to keep it pristine, I mean, it's not well, in theory, it's not a big deal if one drone is in the sky, but imagine 1,000 people hiking Yosemite Half Dome with 1,000 drones in the sky. You would probably disturb every single person and animal that's there. And so this is protected land. You are not allowed to fly in national parks. And when we get into the maps, you'll see how easy it is to see, oh, it's very obvious I'm not allowed to fly there. We'll get into that. But one thing to note is that in the same way that you can look at the lion in the zoo without having to go inside of the lion cage, same thing. I am just outside the national park. I can either look into the national park, or in this case, I'm so close to it that it literally looks the same as though you were in it. And so I'm staying outside of the boundaries to be able to get my shot, right? It's kind of the same thing where you can use a regular DSLR camera that has a lens on there that you can zoom in on something. So it's just one thing to consider. Just because there might be restrictions on the other side doesn't mean you can't stand behind the glass of the lion's den and look into the cage, right? So that's just something to consider. This was taken, I think 4 months after I got my first drone. I was flying the Mavic Mini at the time. And when I was flying that drone, I was asked by a tourism board who did not have drone shots of one of their most famous tours, riding horses on the beach. They wanted drone shots. And I was hand launching and landing a drone off of a horse, which the horse did not like that. But I want to share this quick story because one, within months of having the opening price point drone, I was able to get work. Two, I was able, and if you start looking, tell me in the chat how many travel creators we have in here or people who are looking to sell their photos or videos. If you start using this lens of, does this place have drone shots? Yes or no? You'll start to realize that most people don't have drone shots, but every single person, every single place wants them. Think of someone you know in your life who hates drone shots. Nobody. Everybody loves drone shots. And so it's very easy to find opportunities and pitch yourself and say, hey, I'm capable of doing this. Do you need this? And so that's how I was able to get this interesting job. And so not only is it a great opportunity, but it's something that you can be doing within months of first getting your drone. This was taken 2 months. After getting my Mavic Mini, I flew it off of a kayak and took a top-down drone shot of myself kayaking. Very simple shot, edited on my phone, taken with Mavic Mini 1. This was their cover for all of 2021. And there's one last story that I want to share. That's an important one about how quickly you can get started. Maria, I totally agree with you. This is an interesting job that I did at the end of last year. I know a lot of you guys know that I went to the Maldives. I was living on a yacht for a month and I was helping Manta Trust. They research and protect manta rays around the world to find manta rays by drone. So we would be out on the boat all day, sending drones. There were 17 people on this trip. 17 people. They had been trying for 10 years to put this trip on. It's the first time they did it. They could only bring 17 people. Guess in the chat how many of those 17 were drone pilots. Of the 17 people that were there, the majority of them had been flying drones for over 5 years, and 6 of them were drone pilots. I have been flying a drone since 2020. So it hasn't been that long, and I was the lead drone pilot, and nobody could find manta rays faster than I could. And I want to share that story because it's not about length of time in which you need to do a lot of technical things. I want to share these stories so you understand how quickly you can get into it and how quickly you can really pick up a drone, because in my opinion, it's really not that difficult. Mia, you're a perfect example. Your drone shots already are fire. Make sure you look at her Instagram if you haven't already. I love taking my drone out to travel with me because you can take your own photography. This photo went viral because people were asking which girl has the drone, and it's all me, right? But I want to show you something that's more important about this shot. Who can recognize which app I'm using here? Who recognizes what this app is? Anyone recognize it? Oh yeah, road trips. I love it. Oh yes, Pam, we will get into international. This app is Canva. So there's two things that are going on here. One, I'm editing purely on my phone. And two, I'm just using Canva to stitch these photos together. And I wanted to share this example because it's an interesting shot that I pulled together. The actual photos themselves, it's just the camera that is taking a continuous shot every 2 seconds. And I'm just running from spot to spot. And then I'm piecing them together in Canva. This entire taking the photos and editing it is something that took me less than 20 minutes to do. So it's very, very simple. And really quickly, I want to touch on Pam's question around international. This was shot in Bonaire. Bonaire, if you don't know where that is, it's part of the ABC Islands near Aruba and Curacao. So Bonaire is interesting because just like any other place in the world, I treat it just like the pandemic. There isn't one central website that will tell you the rules for every single country. And not only that, the pandemic rules are changing so quickly that you got to check them all the time. That is exactly the same for drones. And what I mean by that is something as simple as Costa Rica for when you go there, Amy, or even a lot of you know, I travel to Mexico all the time. The rules are changing so fast in the same way that the pandemic rules are changing so fast. And it's happening in that way with drones because more and more people are getting drones. More and more people are taking to the skies, and a lot of places are not yet ready to figure out what to do about that. And so in the same way that with the pandemic, I use the government website. There is a federal aviation government website for every single country out there. I use that as my first point of reference, right? Government website for the pandemic, government website for drones. Separately, I am just like with the pandemic, also trying to put my ear to the ground and be like, okay, well, I found this information, but is it cool to go there right now? Or is it very locked down? Or drones say they're okay there, but what are people saying in blogs, on Twitter, on Reddit forums? What's the real-time information on the ground that's happening? How recently were drone shots put up on places like Instagram or social media? I'm just looking and just piecing all of this together to make the best decision for me. And actually, I will share one last thing that I don't really talk about in a lot of my workshops, which is even if I do all of that research, I still won't go running into that country being like, hey, everybody, I am here at TSA and I am here with a drone in my luggage. Like, I'm not screaming from the mountaintops around it. I am very, very, very ninja about my drones. And the reason why isn't because there's something wrong per se, but in the same way, the pandemic rules are changing and oh my God, we need to adjust. In the same way, people are starting to buy drones and places need to adjust. Not everybody knows how to adjust and not every person knows the rules. So a perfect example, sometimes I'll be flying my drone. Sometimes an authority figure will come up to me. Can you be flying it? You can't fly. Don't fly a drone here. And then, do I have to have this conversation of educating them while my drone's in the air? Batteries might be low. I might be getting a sweet shot, fill in the blank, right? And so I do, and I'm admitting that I do things like when I pack my drone, I might separate my drone pieces out. So my batteries are in this bag. It's kind of like my money when I'm traveling, I might have like a 20 in here and then like a 50 in my back pocket and some ones in like my right pocket. And I never pull out all of my money in one go. Same thing with my drone when I'm packing it. It might be parsed out in different places so that when somebody is looking through all my stuff, they won't find all the things at once. So that's, makes me feel stressed out that this is being recorded, but there you go. That's an honest truth right there. And there's one last thing, especially if you're a woman, 7.2% of women are drone pilots. Sorry, I said that the wrong way. 7.2 of drone pilots are women. We need more women flying drones. I recently did a collab with Women Who Drone. If you look at one of my latest Instagram reels, it's that post, super fun. I support everybody who wants to fly a drone, but especially if you're a woman, we need you badly. And a lot of times I get a lot of work because there might be 10 dudes on the project, but I am the only woman who is flying a drone, and that's why I'm there. And so just wanted to share that story. I've been building a lot of stuff. So today I will be spending time talking about various drones and answering any questions you have. But if for some reason I don't get to your question, I made it free. I should not have made this free because it took me way too long to build, but I put together a step-by-step course of helping you to find the right drone for you. That is on the christinelozada.com/TNN website link, so you don't have to write it down. And then I have other free workshops and my drone course in there as well. Let's take our flight connection. All right. Tell me in the chat so far if you feel inspired about drones. We have 40 minutes to really dive in and go deep on some of these things that a lot of people ask me. And I'm going to start with some complicated stories because drone rules are one that a lot of people have a hard time navigating. But I want you to remember something. If you drive a car, when you first started driving that car, was that recently or a long time ago? For me, I got my driver's license when I was 16. That was not yesterday. I've been turning 16 for a very, very long time. All that to say, drones, it's been a long time since we've learned to drive and fly new things. So give yourself patience with the rules because they should not be intuitive, just like driving. I'm sharing this photo because this is me flying a drone in one of the most complex places in the United States to fly drones. I'm in a flying park in Brooklyn looking at a boat graveyard. New York City is one of the hardest places to fly a drone. You're like, oh, I've seen, drone photography videos of New York City all the time. There's a chance, I'm not saying it is, there is a chance they are all illegal. And New York City itself has a very strict rule around no drones in New York City or anywhere in New York City, unless you are at a flying park. And to go to a flying park, you need a special membership to the flying park. There's certain rules around how you fly, etc. But it's possible. And I want to share this one example because it's something where it required a little bit of extra research. But when you look at a drone map of New York, it will seem like you can fly there. But I'm doing extra research, just like we do when we travel in the pandemic, to find out that New York has this separate rule. And so we will get into those drone maps a little bit deeper later, but I want to share this example because I want you to know it's possible. And the other thing is that drones are easy to fly. My mom's really good at flying my drone. I actually just traveled for 3.5 weeks with her. She helped me a lot in getting shots. So I just want to put that out there. Let's talk about what to know. Quiz time. Tell me in the chat how many of these you think you know the answer to. I think a lot of people in here, based on the names that I see, will be 5, but I'm curious how many you know the answer to as I go through them. How do you launch a drone? You push a button. You push a button. A lot of people don't know that. And I want you to watch my mom push this button. I'm going to leave the sound off, but basically you push a button, your phone is connected to your drone. And when you push a button, the drone will take off. And not only will it take off, the drone will hover. The drone will hover on its own and it won't do anything until you tell it to do something else. It's like the boyfriend everyone wishes they had, right? It's saying it's not going to do anything until you're like, okay, now do this. Push the button, the drone will take off and it will just stay still until you tell it to do something else. The next part of this video, the next 2 seconds of this video is important because my mom is staring at it and she says, that was easier than I thought. And I just think that's really important because up until that point, my mom had not seen me flying a drone. And I took her out with, I had 2 drones at this time, the Mavic Mini, that was the Mavic Air 2 that Mia now owns. And she flew my bigger drone for her first time. And she was really shocked by how much she was able to do in 30 minutes in that one flight together. So we learned that you keep it in the air by doing nothing. It hovers on its own. And in this example, in which I'm at in New York City. There's something really important happening on the screen right now. You can see my drone. How the heck was I able to get this shot? I'm flying 2 drones right now. So I have one drone up and the second drone is droning the drone, looking at New York City, capturing a time lapse of the sunset coming down. And I want to share this example because, well, I want you to know that the drone hovers on its own. I'm not doing anything to it, right? I can't hold 2 controllers at the same time, but I'm flying in one of the most difficult places to fly, and I'm flying 2 drones. It might seem complicated, but as you start to break it down and as you're listening to this, I want you to take away, oh, it's possible. You just need to like check some of the rules on Google. Oh, drones are so easy to fly that Christine can fly 2 at the same freaking time. And 3, oh my God, I don't have to do anything to keep the drone in the air. It hovers all by itself. I was probably checking my text message at the same time I was getting the shot, right? I want you to know that it's not insanely complicated. And I feel very humbled out because if you look at my stories, I flew my manual drone today. I flew my drone for 4 minutes. That's all I could take until I had to land my drone, lay down, take an additional Dramamine, and drink another glass of wine because I just felt so much motion sickness flying that drone. If you don't know what a manual drone is, imagine a regular drone flies like this, and a manual drone is flying like this at 60 miles an hour and will give you a headache. So that's the key difference. It's not for everybody. What is obstacle avoidance? Who knows what obstacle avoidance is? This is one where not every drone has this. But actually, let me do a little show and tell. Obstacle avoidance is these little eyeballs on the front. So I have obstacle avoidance on the front. And on the bottom, you can see these 2 little sensors that are down here. And is there one on the butt? I don't remember. I don't know. It's not really important. Oh, sorry, never mind. I don't want to say that. It's important for a lot of people, but once you understand some of the dynamics of how to fly, you'll realize that you don't need to rely on it very much. But there's something called obstacle avoidance in which some of these drones will help you to avoid obstacles. Exactly, Amy, don't run into a tree. So there's 3 options. You can bypass things. So in other words, your drone will actually go around the thing, or it will break. In other words, let's say you're getting really close, tree, here comes a drone. The drone will literally go, and it will stop. And if you keep trying to make it go forward, it just won't happen, right? It's kind of like going to the bar and not paying for a drink. They're just not going to pour you a drink. It's not going to work that way, right? So it will stop, or you can turn it off. You can turn it off. And I will show you at the end an example of a time it made 100% sense to turn it off. And so obstacle avoidance is something that's available in some of these drones. There's some questions around license and registration. I'm going to pause on this and come back to it later, because for the sake of time, I want to make sure that we get through a couple other things. But I do want, I spent, what did I spend? Maybe 2 weeks. 2 weeks filming like 20 of these really ridiculous 1 minute or less videos that give you the quick what you need to know. That's also on the christinelozada.com/TNN landing page. These 21-minute videos, they're very ridiculous. A lot of them are me talking as a cartoon or in different voices, but they talk about topics like, do you need to register your drone? Do you need a Part 107 license, etc. So I just want you to know that's available to you. And you land your drone the same way you launch your drone. You push the same button and it just goes down. That's your quiz. There's one thing I want to pause on in this in this video, and it's not supposed to demonstrate how long my hair is. It's that there are a lot of things. This actually surprised me a lot. When I talk with a lot of people who own drones, most of them aren't aware of a lot of these safety settings that are built into the DJI drones. And again, going back to what I said in the beginning, I owned 4 of these drones because DJI builds for the consumer in the same way that in theory, you can pull an Apple product out of the box and just start using it without reading the manual. DJI is trying to do things to help you be safe and smart. And so I just want to bring you through a couple of the examples of what's in here, because this is under safety settings. And this video is on that landing page. You don't got to write notes. But there's a couple of things I want you to look at under flight. And what's the key word here, right? Protection, flight protection. And we'll get into the rules in a second, but if you don't know this, you cannot fly your drone in uncontrolled airspace, i.e., you're not right next to JFK. You can fly your drone up to 400 feet. If you are scared of being like, oh my gosh, like it's hard for me to keep track of how high my drone is, then the same way that you don't want your kid to go to channel whatever it is, you can set a max altitude in here of 400 or whatever you want it to be. Your drone will also scream at you, like little pop-ups will come up and be like, you've exceeded 400 feet. It will tell you. But if you want to avoid things, or let's say it's a really windy day and you're distracted by a lot of things, you know, on that day, you don't want to fly higher than 100 feet, for example, you might set it to 100 feet. Max altitude, kind of important. More important, max distance. This one is important to me because I hear this story all the time. Christine, I recently lost my drone. What? How did you lose your drone? Well, I was flying at the fastest speed and I saw something really pretty. And so I kept sending my drone farther and farther and farther away from me. And on that day, it happened to be really windy and I just happened to be over water. And then I couldn't see my drone anymore, but I could still see that pretty thing. So it kept going. And then all of a sudden I just lost my drone. And I was like, how far away was your drone? And they're like, I have no idea. But there's a couple key things about the story. And I've heard the story a million times, not from anyone that's in this chat, thank goodness. One is, you're not actually, one of the rules of flying a drone is you can't fly it out of your sight. You're supposed to always be able to see your drone. It doesn't mean you need to lock eyes and be in love with your drone, but it means you always need to be able to see where it is in the sky. So that's one. The second thing is, you don't want to send your drone so far away. And you can play with this number based off of what's comfortable for you. This is the rule that I use for myself. In the same way that when you're on the phone and you're driving and you go into a parking garage, sorry, can you hear me? Are you still there? Right? You lose connection on your phone when you're in this concrete structure. Same thing happens if you're flying in cities. If I'm flying in a city, sometimes at a max distance of just 1,000 feet, I lose connection with my drone. And so I will set a max distance way smaller if I'm flying in places with a lot of things that will cause interference with my drone. Different story. Let's go back to the Maldives. Guess how many things in the Maldives causes interference with your drone? 0. There's nothing going on in the Maldives. I think they have a max height in the Maldives of like 7 feet or something. In other words, it's just straight ocean out there. I could fly my drone up to 4,000 feet before it would lose any kind of connection. And so my max distance in the Maldives was off. It was also off because I was chasing moving targets as a moving target. So one thing I just want to share, and this feels complicated, don't worry about it. There's one thing I want you to know in here that's important. There is a home feature. In other words, your drone, because it's GPS, when you hook up your drone to your phone, it will know Christine is located right here. And unless you go into your safety settings and say, yo, I just boated 20 feet in that direction or 2 miles in that direction, it will think you're back there. And so you can keep updating your drone and tell it where you are so that it can be updated. But part of the reason I turn off max distance is because if you're hiking and you lose connection with your drone goes, oh, I lost connection. I'm going to go back to Christine and land where she was. And you have to go hike back to where your drone is. So you might be updating where you're at, but you're also starting to understand what your drone is capable of doing for you. You can update where you're at tell your drone to go back to wherever that place is. You can do things like these safety settings so that you don't go too high or you don't go too far away, that are in there for you. And you don't always have to use these things, but they're available for you. And one of the things I do before each of my flights is I evaluate what kind of flight I'm going to have, what kind of complexities are in there. And then you set it to the right things for you for that flight. This is another important thing, and it kind of goes back to the hiking example. This is how it's automatically set in advanced safety settings for all DJI drones, which is, and I was talking about this losing connection. Tell me in the chat if you fly a drone and you've lost connection with your drone. If you don't know what that means, what happens is you're flying your drone, your controller is connected, and then all of a sudden your screen goes completely blank, just blank. And it's stressful and you're breathing hard and you want your drone to come back and reconnect so you can see where it is in time and space. But there's these advanced settings where if your drone loses connection and it loses connection for more than 5 to 10 seconds, then you can make your drone automatically come back to where you launched the drone from, right? Where you originally let the drone go up and where it calculated your home point. So these are available to you. If you're ever like, oh my gosh, I don't know where my drone is at, you can quite literally press the return to home button and it will come back to you. I always manually make my drone come back to me, but a lot of people love to use this setting. It's very, very easy. Okay, let's talk about the rules. My favorite topic. How are we doing? Tell me in the chat. It's 8:36. I said I was going to talk slowly today. It's really hard for me to talk slowly. I'm trying really hard to talk slowly. All right, and make sure you're asking me questions as we're going through this. There's 3 rules. There's 3 rules. And yes, there's caveats within each one, but one thing that's different, if you've ever heard me talk about these rules before, is that you're actually going to see some of the ways that I bring people through my course on how I answer these things. Christy, good question. If you lose connection, 2 things will happen. 1, it will just come back on its own. If it's been, Fido's been gone for more than 10 seconds, not connected, boom, it's just coming straight back to you. It'll do it on its own. That's how it's automatically set unless you turn that off. The other thing is you just tell it. And the way you tell it, just push the button, boom, comes right back. It's kind of a wild thing. Actually, no, it's not. Teslas, right? How many people have seen the Teslas that will come back, you know, if someone pushes a button and it will come pull up to where they're at. It's pretty neat. All right, the rules, let's talk about it. This is a really scary, awful lighting photo of me. Actually, not a photo, it's a screenshot. This is me. Tell me if you recognize where I'm at. There's something on the map that's total giveaway as to where I'm at. This is me talking in a live stream on my YouTube channel about me being in Orlando and me planning my drone flight. I'm actually, at this time, I was located at one of the Orlando properties that was like right here. I was at like the Waldorf Orlando. And so what was interesting about this flight is there's 2 things that are happening. What you're looking at is a map that mainly shows you airports. It mainly shows you airports. And we'll dive into this a little bit more. But think about it. There's humongous airplanes carrying people around. They don't want you flying anywhere near an airplane. Think about how devastating it would be if you hit an airplane, brought down an airplane with your drone. I don't think it would bring down the airplane, but still it'd be devastating. So you don't want to fly near airports. Walt Disney is a whole different beast. If you look, and actually I posted an honest post about this, I didn't know, because you literally have to go into the FAQ page all the way down at the very, very bottom, like the last FAQ, like deep inside of it, that you can't fly drones at a ski resort that I love to go to all the time in Utah, has a champagne hut. If you know what I'm talking about, don't tell it in the chat. It's not obvious that you can't fly there. Disney, different beast. They make it, yep, exactly. They make it super. Disney has its own police. I think Disney has its own jail. Disney has its Disney has its own currency. I'm just kidding. Disney has its own thing going on, right? So I'm not surprised that Disney is on this drone map. And we are going to go into this drone map together. And I'm actually going to do research on one of the places that one of you lives. So get ready for that. I want to bring you through two other quick drone maps. San Diego Airport, right? But there's other red stuff. If you don't know this, actually it's part of the reason why I'm from San Diego. San Diego has a huge naval base there, lots of Filipinos. My parents were born in the Philippines, joined the Navy. That's why I was born in San Diego. But this additional red is other government military activity. And you'll see it on the map, military zone, restricted area. That's why it's red in addition to what's on the airport. No surprise, you cannot fly anywhere near the White House. No surprise there, right? On the right-hand side, this is DC. You gotta go super far out of Washington, DC to be able to fly a drone. They will literally shoot your drone down if you try to fly in this space. So that's kind of an interesting thing to know. Oh, I know what's happening here. So in my course, I just want to show you something really quick. And actually, I don't know. I don't really want the sound to be on. But one thing I want you to see is that just like Google Maps, this is the DJI Fly app. It's what you use to be able to fly your drone. It operates just like Google Maps in that when you tap around on Google Maps, you can find the coffee shop, you can find the gas station, but in DJI, you can see why different things are different colors. Too many people think they need to memorize what red versus blue, yellow, what's the height in each one. You don't need to memorize any of that. Before I fly anywhere, I'm literally just tapping around and seeing what's up. And just like the lion's cage, I'm looking for the areas where there isn't a restriction so that I can stand there and send the drone up. And so it's easier than you think. And it's something that if you do not have a drone, you can actually practice today. So this was inside my How to Fly a Drone course. And in all of these lessons, it's literally you grab your phone, grab this, grab that. We're doing this together. And then we do it together in everything, even flying your drone. But going through maps together is important. And so this is on the christinelozada.com/TNN landing page. This is on DJI's website. You don't have to just use the app for this. You can also use their website. So actually, hold on. In the chat, there was someone in here from Michigan. I'm just going to use you as an example. In my old life, I used to live in Grand Rapids, Michigan for 1 week a month for 7 years. If that sounds weird, that's because it is weird. So wherever you are, you can literally go to this website, type in, oh yeah, oh yes, Mia, that's right, Grand Rapids. Yeah, so good, so much beer. And you can literally zoom in and see what's up. Hold the phone. Oh, there we go. It just hasn't loaded yet. This is my favorite way. I think you've heard this before. This is my favorite way to find prisons. You can find prisons really easily on drone maps. And you'd be like, oh, wow, there's a prison over there. Okay. Yep. I was like, where's the airport? It's over here. So no surprise, here's the airport. And as I click around, just like I would on the app, I can see things like, okay, if I'm near the airport, and this is a ways away from the airport, like this drive from the airport to over here, this is probably 25 minutes, right? But I can have a max altitude of 150 versus at the airport, right? Totally restricted, it's red. And there's one other thing, and I'm about to drop this video on my YouTube channel. What happens? What happens if you try to fly your drone at an airport? On that trip I was at Disney, I had to pick someone up from the airport. Their flight was delayed. And so I made a video about what happens if you try to launch your drone at the airport, because I was literally across the street from the airport. And this goes back to why I recommend DJI. They literally don't even let you. They don't let you launch your drone. You can't even get it off the ground. But I want you to consider trying this, tapping around to different areas on the map and see what it's like for you, because it's not something where you need to learn all these maps. It's as easy as Google Maps and just tapping around. All right, let me just answer a couple quick questions in here. Cell phone or Wi-Fi connection when you're flying? I used to think the answer to that was yes. I used to think that you needed phone connection to be able to fly your drone, and you don't. You can be in airplane mode flying in Ethiopia. That was me. Actually, I think that's in my stories right now on Instagram. Me flying my Mavic Mini in 40-mile-per-hour winds, which you absolutely should not do. But you do not need cell connection. I'm going to share one quick caveat to that. If you are somewhere that is near something that's restricted, where you need to say to DJI, I am a drone pilot, I have a license, I have some kind of waiver that says I'm allowed to fly across the street from Orlando Airport, for example. You need Wi-Fi connection to be able to tell DJI I have the right licenses to do that. Obviously, that starts getting complicated. If you are just somewhere in Tahiti being sexy on the beach and you want to fly your drone, you do not need Wi-Fi connection or any kind of connection. Okay, that was that question. Do you insure your drone when you travel? Nope. I don't. There are jobs sometimes where they require insurance, where it's like, okay, for this flight, when you are doing work for our company, you need drone insurance for this project. And you can go and get hourly drone insurance for things like that. Otherwise, I'm also someone who will rip through Mexico on an ATV going 60 miles an hour. So insurance isn't really my thing. Okay, let's talk about which drone in our 15 minutes. Okay, phone dies. Oh yeah, I got you on that one. So this is an important one. You can have your drone controller. Obviously you want to make sure your drone controller has full battery, or I have three of the 4 bars. You can make it charge your drone. So your phone is running out of battery, make your controller charge your drone while you're flying, because if your phone dies, that is a problem, but it shouldn't happen as long as you have that setting on and it's charging your phone. Make sure your phone is charged. Okay, I have, actually there's more now. So I have that course, but I have 7 full videos around which drone to get. And I basically walk you through pros and cons of each one's. And I've already talked about why DJI. I like this little video because a lot of people think that you need to choose your drone based off of the size. They're pretty much all the same size. They're not that big. This big one that is over here, that is the FPV drone that hopefully none of you choose to fly. And if you do, I have a 5-year supply of Dramamine in case you want to join me in that journey. But drones are fairly small, fit in the palm of your hand, if your hand's a little bit bigger than mine, and they fold up for the most part, right? They fold out, but they fold up pretty small. And for me, I'm a carry-on only kind of traveler. I'm about to travel for 3.5 weeks, including TravelCon. I will be carry-on only. There's 3 drones I want to talk about, but especially if you might have a drone now, there's some new news that I want to talk about. And there's something really important about the way DJI launches drones. And for the first time, not the first time, it's rare. It's rare to see drones go on sale, but there are drones on sale. So I'll be talking about that. Opening price point drone. This is the cheapest DJI model that's out there. The Pro, oh, this price is so good. $299, that's less than my GoPro. I'm not saying this is cheap, right? It's still an investment in a camera, but you can get aerial footage at 2.7K on the camera at $299. That's pretty amazing. The downsides of this drone, it doesn't have any kind of sensors, and it's very basic. It's just taking photos and videos for you. In other words, if you have an iPhone, and when you take a picture on your iPhone, you never use settings like portrait. You never touch that pano button. You might never try the new cinematic slow-mo or time-lapse options on your iPhone. Then this drone's for you. If you don't really, if you just like, you just want the aerial shots, yeah, this is like really awesome. One step up is the Mavic Mini 2. And now we're starting to get into the, ooh, this shoots 4K. Like, oh, there's some auto settings in here, like quick shots. If you're like, what's a quick shot? Imagine you're standing right here and you say, I want you to take a video of me in which you will slowly pan out, fly up and back while I'm tossing my hair. They'll do that for you, and it will make that video for you. So it's basically just doing more. Imagine you are the iPhone user. I do use portrait. I love that new cinema. Oh, slow-mo. Yes, I'm all about that. This might be the drone for you. This is the drone that 90% of the people I talk to buy. They think they need the really crazy pro drones. Mavic 3 Pro came out end of last year. Hollywood videographers that I know fly that drone. It's $5,000. It does amazing, amazing things, insane quality. For most people, it is not what you need. This drone is fantastic. It's very lightweight. And the Mavic Mini 3 will be dropping at the end of this month, supposedly. It will be a slightly higher price point. It's likely going to come in around $520 for the Mavic Mini 3. But what I want you to know about it is really that when that drone comes out, sometimes DJI will clear out old inventory. So if you're on the cusp right now of getting a drone, I would actually say wait to see if this drone goes on sale. It might be the drone for you. And the other thing I do recommend for people is go get a used drone. As long as the camera is in perfect condition and the thing flies, you're good. Like you don't need it to be clean. My drones are not clean. Mia knows this. My drones are so dirty, like really dirty, but the camera is perfect. The drone itself dirty, camera's perfect. Mavic Mini 3 is coming out at the end of this month. Oh, yeah. So DJI, if you don't know this, they love to leak their stuff. In other words, the way they launch their product, they always leak information and they put prototypes out there. So it's coming. So let's say, fast forward, I'm not ready yet, Christine, maybe in 6 months, a year. If you're ready, don't just look at the inventory that's out now. Google search, like when is the next DJI drone coming out, or leaked drone info, like something like that on Google, and look at what's coming, right? It's not like Apple. Apple will drop the new phone, boom, September every year, new iPhones out. It's not how DJI works, but they always leak their stuff. So keep an eye out if you want to know what's coming. This is the drone I'm holding right here, the Mavic Air 2S. This drone is the equivalent of, if you're a person who likes to travel or create, love it, that likes to travel and you shoot with a DSLR, it's either going to be this drone or the Pro drone, which I will talk about in a second. This drone does a lot more. It's starting to do a lot of like panoramic shots. It will shoot in higher quality. This shoots at 5.4K. These video sizes are humongous. To be honest, the majority of my work is shot in 4K. The Mavic Mini 2 shoots in 4K, but this is a heavier, sturdier drone, still very tiny, but this is the Mavic Air 2S. On that note, like I said before, DJI clearing out inventory. The Mavic Air 2, for the first time, one of the first times ever actually, is on sale right now. They're trying to clear out that inventory. You can just Google search it, actually, Mavic Air 2. You'll see it on sale for $200 off. You can get the entire bundle of it for like $800 right now. The expensive drones. This is the Mavic 3 Pro. There's two versions of it. There's that $5,000 one that I told you about, and then there's this one. Basically, if you are a professional photographer who loves to shoot with professional DSLR photos, cameras, or mirrorless, you might consider leveling up to something like this. But again, the majority of the people I talk to get the Mavic Mini. A lot of people ask me, what about the other stuff? I'll just, for the sake of time today, because I respect everyone's time, every single time I have flown with somebody who has a non-DJI drone, when we switch drones, something magical happens where they realize they wish they had my drone. In other words, yes, there are other drones entering the market all the time. It depends on your personal goals, but for the most part, most people prefer the DJI drones if you are a traveler or you are a creator. And one of the things I want to share that a lot of people do a lot is they go buy the cheap drone. Christine, I'm scared and I don't think I can fly a drone. I'm going to go buy a cheap drone to practice and then I will go fly. Again, this is going back to my how to fly a drone course. Let's not listen to me. Do this. Get the free simulator. This is the DJI, again, on christinelozada.com/TNN. The free DJI virtual flight simulator. I made Mia fly in this before she got outside with a drone. And practice, because I get it. When you're holding a drone controller and flying a drone, this is not intuitive. Like, how often do you press a left stick and all of a sudden you start flying up? That doesn't happen in your car. So it's helpful to practice in the simulator. That's free. This will teach you what you need to know about the sticks versus making, in my opinion, making the mistake of buying a cheap drone. I have met a lot of people who have done it. I wouldn't say a single one is stoked that they did it. I'm about to drop a video of somebody who recently did it. Okay, so that's my thoughts on cheap drones. A quick question. Do you need accessories or just the drone? It depends. When you first get started, for the first year, actually that's not true. For the first 8 months I flew a drone, I had this many accessories. I didn't have anything. You don't have to. It depends on what you're trying to do. The accessories that are important, batteries, extra batteries. Especially if you see something cool, you see 500 sharks like I did in Jupiter. You saw dolphins playing in the mud, Crystal River 3 weeks ago. You're gonna want another battery, send the drone out. Batteries, spare batteries are important. Later, when you're ready, filters. This on the front of my camera is a filter. And this filter is helping me to slow down the shutter speed just a little bit to help my shots look a little bit more cinematic so that in the editing, I don't have to do as much. These later. Can you get them in the very beginning? Absolutely. Every single thing that I shoot with, there's, oh, you know what? This, oh, it's on my website. I'll add it to the TNN page. You can see my kit. I show everything that I shoot with. It's not a secret. But again, if you're still wondering which drone, drop a question below or take the free course. And if you choose to get a drone and you're going to TravelCon, come fly with me because it's going to be really, really insanely fun. This is the landing page again, with all the helpful stuff. I will add to that the link of everything that I shoot with. Let me answer another question. How long do you need to practice learn before you're ready to start creating content? Oh no, day one, like in the first flight. That's just my opinion. Actually, hold on, Katie, let me share this story. So when Mia won my drone, right? So Mia attended one of these workshops when I was giving away a drone. She won it. When I flew her out to Florida, taught her every single thing I know. Every single thing I know. I think, Mia, you were here for, I want to say 4.5 days. Everything I know in about 2.5 years, crunched into 4.5 days. Within the first flights she had, I mean, we were not in a sexy location. I brought her to a baseball park, which is very boring. Not a stadium, a park, baseball field. So her first shot sucked because there was nothing good to look at. But I mean, immediately after, oh, never mind. Right after that, we drove somewhere else and she flew and caught the sunset. Oh, it was beautiful. So I would say second flight, Katie, within the first 6 minutes of the second flight. Okay, so drones. All right, hold on. What else do I have for you? Oh, did I talk slow? Oh, it's so hard for me to talk slow. I tried. This photo is important because the question that was asked earlier, do you need Wi-Fi connection? This is Christine in Ethiopia, riding a bike across the canyons where no tourists have ever been before. I had no connection at all. I was flying the Mavic Mini in 3 times in as much wind as you were ever allowed to fly that drone. And I did not care. It was awesome and fun. I was able to get amazing shots while I was out there on this canyon. So something you can do too. Really, really fun flying drones. Please connect with me. I'm at Christine Lozada everywhere. Oh, if you gotta go, totally respect that. I'm gonna show you 3 last things. One, if you get a drone, I'm a really big fan of do it with me. Setting up a drone is not like setting up an iPhone. You set up an iPhone, it like comes out charged and it's like, oh, okay, you can start playing with it immediately. That is not how it works with a drone. I've set up 4 of these things. There is a method to the madness. This free video that's on that landing page will literally take you through how to set up your drone. So if you get one, set it up with me using this video. It's only 5 minutes long, allows you points in which you pause to charge. Anyone have a guess? How long does it take to charge one of these batteries? This bad boy takes like 90 minutes to charge one of them. Kills me. It takes so long. For those of you who are familiar with Wanderful, another travel community, this is a raw video coming out of the drone, shot with someone else's drone actually, through the stage, and then it flies up and away. And if you're curious about how I edit this using just my iPhone, my Facebook group, I put 2 live videos of me editing and how I set up this shot. But I just want to show you, okay, will it let me do this? No, it's not going to let me do this. Oh, fantastic. I'm at the beginning. Oh, geez. All right, well, that was over really fast. Oh, hey, look. Obstacle sensors. Remember I told you about this? Obstacle sensors are off. Why? Because I'm flying through the stage and literally a couple feet above Hadi's head, if obstacle sensors were on, it would stop. The drone would stop and it would not fly through that stage because it's too close to the banner and it's too close to Hadi, the girl who's doing the jumping jacks. And so I turned obstacle sensors off for that flight only. The other thing you can see, because I trimmed this part out in the edit, I'm getting everyone wave, get ready. I'm just flying the drone straight backwards. How do I know it's not going to hit anything? I didn't fly it straight backwards first. I flew it forward first. In other words, a lot of people try to just get the good shot on the very first one. Set it up, practice. A lot of people ask me, how do you fly in high winds? You practice before you're on location. So here's the stage. Let's just pretend this is the top of the stage and this is the drone. What I did was I put the drone behind the stage, right there. I put the drone there first, and then I flew it forward and backwards like 3 times, just to make sure doing this wasn't going to be weird and making sure it was lined up. And then I brought it all the way forward so that all I had to do was push back and I could wave at the same time. And then it's an easy movement of having it fly up. That's it. That shot is so easy to get, looks really unique, right? So pretend this is edited. You can see it in the Facebook group, but it's really cool because I speed ramp it. In other words, it goes fast, slows down, fast, slows down. It reveals something, and then it will show a landscape eventually. A really cool shot that drones can get that is not super complicated on how to do it. So that edit, how I set it up, and separately the video on how I edited that, those videos are available to you in my free Facebook group. Thank you so much for joining me tonight and for giving me a few extra minutes. Don't forget the Nomadic Network. They have the plus so that you can get replays of not just this event, but all of their events. There's so many good ones coming up. I'm going to try really hard to join Annie's tomorrow. Oh, I will be at the TravelCon Premixer in case anyone else is there. But make sure you check their events page for all the new stuff. And thank you so much for joining me tonight. I know there may have been a couple questions in here like Mick that I didn't get to. Please just connect with me. Either DM me on Instagram, send me an email. I'll make sure that's on the christinelozada.com/TNN page. And I just wanted to say thank you all so much for being here today. This was the hardest presentation for me to do because I spoke slowly. It is not something I do like ever. But if you ever need anything drone-wise, I'm here for you. Thanks for joining me. So many familiar faces. Ciao, friends.